So I like to think that somewhere out there's this imaginary graveyard just full of NPCs of mine that my players have forgotten over the years. You see, it's really easy for us GMs to forget to build that empathy bridge that leads from players to all of our characters that we populate our stories with. Hey, Goblin Town, I'm Erik, this is Goblin Salvage Rights, and you have too many forgettable characters. Now, I've come up with a solution I'm calling vignettes. So a vignette, as we know, is a slice of life story. No real progressive complications, not much of a climax to speak of, and it feels a lot like the first half of Fellowship of the Ring.
A wizard is never late, Frodo Baggins.
So it's a framework designed to round out NPCs that might be otherwise flat and forgettable. So the idea here is to run a series of small scenes, a mini session if you will, designed to help the players get into the headspace of your NPC. Through these scenes, your players are going to be able to understand your NPC in new and interesting ways that they wouldn't previously been able to at the table. Now, I used the term empathy bridge a moment ago. All that is really my own shorthand to describe the notion that no player is really going to give a shit about one of my NPCs until I help them make an emotional connection between that player and the NPC in question. So until we build that empathy bridge with our players, all of our NPCs are just going to be meat sacks full of XP bursting at the seams. And in the meantime, our players are just waiting for us to roll initiative. So the framework for putting together a vignette is as follows. First, you pick an NPC, then you give that NPC a name, and then you give them a profession. Give your NPC a secondary desire, give them some low stakes complications to get over, and then give them some minions for your players to control. Grab your index card and let's get started. Great, so step number one, I want you to think of an NPC that's in your game that you want your players to remember forever. Look, I don't care if it's a one-legged zombie, a homeless queen from some voodoo sex cult, or maybe conjoined angels trying to kick their mescaline habit. Just get an NPC. Any NPC will do. So in my case, I've got this simple bearded devil. Nothing extra about him. So this little guy was nameless and dropped in the middle of a murder hotel in a module that I ran a few months back. So as written, this bearded devil was sitting in a bedroom, hotel bedroom, and there were red drapes. There was a iron wrought 4-poster bed and just about the most obvious trite pentagram written on a stone floor that you've ever seen. So on the surface, this just seemed like a one and done encounter, just ready to throw away. Now, the first thing I did was get this guy a name. So I call him Barnabas, Watchman for the great city of Dis. Names have power, people. If you want your tunes to be remembered, name them. Also, give them a purpose so they feel real to your players. Now, my players are members of the City Watch, so I made this devil be an actual member of the City Watch in hell. Having him go through a very similar mode of training for a same occupation created sort of an empathy connection between the players and this NPC. So having my NPC go through similar vocational training in hell was a great way to put yet another plank on this empathy bridge that we are building. So at this point, I'm going to pull out my index card and I'm going to write in big block letters, Barnabas, bearded devil, City Watchman for the great city of Dis. All right, so now it's your turn. I want you to take your NPC, give him a name, give him a monster or creature type, maybe an ancestry heritage, give him a profession. So now that we have an NPC in mind, we need to talk about what that NPC is doing in this adventure in the first place. As written, most NPCs and monsters are typically just there to be steamrolled by players. Maybe they're blocking a corridor or guarding a treasure. Maybe they're hiding a secret. But sometimes your players are going to just latch onto a character, make a meme out of them, and that's your opportunity to round that character out. So let's zero in on something that's very important to your NPCs, something that has nothing to do with the adventure at hand. And this is their secondary desire. So going back to Barnabas, my bearded devil, I made him kind of a neat freak, and he likes to have everything just so, everything in its place. So whatever his secondary desire is, it can't have anything to do with the adventure. What your secondary desire is going to do is it's going to humanize your NPC in the eyes of your players. Humanization builds empathy. So the offices of Barnabas are City Watchman for the city of Dis in hell. Everything is in its proper place. So his files are organized. All of the scrolls are in their place. This place is dusted on the regular. So Barnabas, my bearded devil, now has a secondary desire. And I'm going to put that right here on my index card. So now it's your turn. I want you to take your NPC and write down a secondary desire. and I want you to put it on your index card, something that has nothing to do with the adventure at hand. So now at this point, we need a low stakes problem to be solved. We can think of this as the plot line for your vignette. I decided that Barnabas's problem is going to be that he leaves the office, fully expecting his minions to respect his wishes, to keep the place tidy while he's gone. Look, it's dead simple and carries low stakes. That's what we're going for. So on my index card, I'm going to write story problem. Office is messy. Must clean up before Barnabas gets back. Okay, now do yours. At this point, we need to find some fun minions for your players to play during this vignette. So I'm partial to just snatching monsters out of the bestiary. You know, monsters that make sense to have rotating around your NPC's orbit. So these monsters that you're giving out to your players, these should be at most half the level of your NPC. I personally find that the lower the level of these minions, the funnier, the goofier, just simply the more memorable the scene becomes. So how about imps? I think that's totally appropriate for this vignette. And so I'm off to the bestiary to run off copies of the imp entry, and I make sure I have enough, one for each of my players. So I will have my players name these imps. I will have them dress them, attribute details to them, uniquify them with a singular detail that makes them stand out from the others. A bearded devil, a tower precinct somewhere in the hellish city of Dis, and a pack of imps. Oh, that just feels right to me. So on my index card, I'm going to write minions, pack of imps. So on your index card, write down a fun minion that hangs out with your NPC, and make sure you have copies of the bestiary entries so you can run them off and hand them to your players. All right, now we have our index cards. So why don't we talk about how we set up and then run our vignette. So before the session, I will explain to my players that they are a pack of imps and they work for a bearded devil named Barnabas. He instructs them to just keep the place together, keep it tidy, because he's going to be stepping away for a while. If anybody shows up to his office, have them just like leave a scroll or a message or something, and he'll get back to them when he gets back to the precinct. At this point, I'm going to have Barnabas and the PC imps just interact for so long as it's fun. And when it's not fun anymore, I'm going to have Barnabas just exit the scene. It's at this point I will ask my players my favoritist and most importantest of GM questions. What do you do? So this part's really important. Let them use their bestiary entry to do things. Let them break things. Let them burn things down. This is supposed to be a low stakes, low impact scene here. None of this is going to affect your campaign at large. So let your players go wild. Let them break shit. Let them burn the place down. So at this point, we should all have an index card, and on it, we should have our NPC with a name. We should have a creature type, a profession, a low stakes story problem. We should also have minions. If you want to stop here, that's totally fine. At this point, you have everything you need to create an NPC that will leave a lasting impression on your players forever. You've got that. But if you want to take this exercise to the next level, just repeat this thing 2 more times. Have your new NPCs walk in and out of each other's scenes. Maybe drop a story hint, a campaign secret Easter egg that your players' characters couldn't possibly come up with on their own. This will create dramatic irony, and that's its own reward. So again, thank you, goblins, for hanging out with us. We love you guys. We have a Patreon. Come check us out there. We've got a super active Discord. Everybody's talking, coming up with new ideas. Come join us there. And as usual, just keep it weird.